You're muted.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Sorry, we've had a couple technical difficulties right at the beginning, but we should be recording now. I hope everybody's okay with that. If you're not, then you can go ahead and just turn off your screen, okay? Or yeah, turn off your picture, whatever. We're going to be going through this slide deck first. Carrie Waters and I spent a lot of time yesterday going through it and kind of formatting things, and the Works on Paper committee met, and we kind of want to clarify a couple of things for the group and then just take a look at what people submitted. The main thing is that because we had 3 slots, a lot of people entered 3 things, and if they entered at the max size, then they are actually exceeding the area that we've allotted to every person. So we allotted 22 by 30 inches to every person. So the idea being that you could submit 3 smaller things or 1 large thing, depending on what you wanted to do. And so right now, some people submitted 3 large things, and we're going to have to select 1 of the 3 from those people. And then most people were stayed within the restrictions, but they maybe didn't put the size of the photograph, for example, that is as it's printed. So we can add that. So what I'm going to do is I've given everybody like permission to comment on the slide deck, so that if you see a mistake in your slide, you can just put a comment on that particular slide and make a correction. And that'll make it easy for whoever's editing it to put the correction where it belongs. And so let me share, first of all, the link to the slide deck so you can have access to it if you want to make a note and if you see an error. And that can be like size or anything, basically the name of the piece, whatever. Okay. And then we are going to be kind of making pretty quickly final decisions by just, raising hands. But I believe that we have pretty much the complete show. It looks pretty good. And it also, I think it looks amazing. I should say it looks better than pretty good. But I want to make sure that, people have a sense of, which piece is in, so we can send them a list with a really accurate, what do you say, accounting of what's in the show, so people know. Did anybody on the Works on Paper want to add to that committee? No? You guys can see my screen now? It should be, yes, okay. View slideshow. Here we go. Okay. And so again, do you know what size this piece is? This is a photograph of your installation or of the piece, right?
Yeah, it's a photograph of the piece. So I'm sorry, what was the size restriction on that?
It's 8. So the size restriction is 18, or excuse me, 22 by 30 inches was the max area that we have.
Okay.
So.
Okay. We could do this as a 12 by 16. Easy.
Okay, great. So if you could, in that link, just add in a note that says 12 by 16, we'll correct it for you.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Okay. And then this is Alice Clements. This is a collage. She also submitted to the performance committee a really beautiful performance proposal and added to it this time. I don't know that she's here. She just texted me to say that she fell off of a horseback riding today. So I don't think she's going to be able to contribute, but I'll find out from her and then add in her dimensions. Let's see. This is also same situation, Alice. This one looks like its dimensions are variable, so we'll just have to figure out how to, this one might be a little bit fragile to ship, but it looks like she's already got the paper tabs on the piece, which is nice. This is Elaine Marr. So pretty much, and I think that what we realized is that we left out a specific question that said size, and so we didn't get a lot of sizes. And we also have a lot of photo-based process where people can sort of print any size that they want. So when I'm handing or sending out the email to the whole group, I'm going to send out an email saying basically if you submitted photography, as long as you stay within the area of 18 or of 22 by 30 inches, you can make the prints any size you want. Just bring them ready to go and make sure that they fit within that area. So I think it's really interesting to see the variety of materials. Like there's some really highly slick things, some photo-based, a lot more photography this time around, which is really nice. And a lot of collage-based things as well. Both I would say computer generated and also hand collage. This one says Allison Marr. It should say Allison Stewart. Sorry about that. We'll fix that, Allison. And then same thing. I just need to know what size you want to print or print this. Do you want to tell us just a second who this is? I think it's kind of a neat story.
Oh yeah, this is a Wiccan high priestess, Gypsy Ravish, from Salem, Massachusetts. She's been a Wiccan high priestess in Salem since the early 70s. Like she got there in 72. So a lot of the Salem witches that are around these days were initiated by her, and she and her husband would lead these rituals and all kinds of things in Salem. So I photographed her. And so I put three in thinking that we were going to be choosing from the three.
Mhm.
So these will be, so I'm thinking of just putting two in,
Mhm.
this one and the piece that we just looked at.
These
So that
two.
they're two
Okay.
together. The other one is a vertical piece. And so I'm just like, I guess that's kind of the odd man out. So these will be 10 by 15
Mhm.
printed.
Okay. I'm just making a note.
Okay.
And you want one and image two.
Image
Okay.
one and image two. Yeah. And then you can
I
just
like the
delete.
lighting a lot on this one.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And then Amy, the long pig goddess.
Yep.
Amy is help putting everything together. So there's Anka submitted something, which is really exciting. Anka is also the curator and writer and art historian. Adds his attic portrait, and that's C and Michelle. Again, we're gonna just send it out, like asking, but I think these are really beautiful takes on the theme. I love the variety of things. This is, yeah, Carol Silverstein. So some people, like, they had some technical issues, so we contacted them and like there was something missing and we got the image back. So Carrie, you might notice a few people were added in yesterday after we stopped meeting because they were kind of stuck in process. But there's Carol Silverstein came through, which is awesome. And so did Chelsea Dean.
Mariana, I'm also, as people are making comments, or I'm
Okay.
changing that in the document
Oh,
too.
you are awesome.
Yep,
So,
I'm just going and entering it in so people
okay,
know.
perfect. So that's me.
Hopefully
If
that
you could
doesn't
tell
affect
Carrie,
anything,
yeah,
but
you're the only one who has edit access right now. So that's awesome. That's great.
okay,
They can
no
make
problem.
comments and you can edit.
Yep, sounds good.
And then this is Ava, who's an artist that Anka, believe, referred to us, which is kind of amazing. And then we have Ever submitted two pieces or three, and then the third one didn't have an image. So I still want to contact her. She's at the Armory show right now, so she's very busy. But this one fits within the size restrictions. This second piece is beautiful, but it's too large. So we can't take the second one, but we would kind of like to take this one if we can get a look at it, just based on the strength of these two, because I think they're really beautiful. So. And again, just speak up if like something, you have a comment about something or you think that, I don't know, something doesn't fit the theme. But to me, everybody's pretty much been pre-selected that we sort of know people make work that fits the theme. So I don't anticipate that that's going to be much of an issue. This is Janet Levy, who also is traveling a lot. So she made this piece for us, which is amazing because she's just, I think she's in Mexico right now. Jovi Schnell, who's a new artist to us.
I referred Jovi.
Oh, you did? Yeah. You want to tell us a little bit about the work? It's beautiful.
Um, yeah, I mean, she does these kind of, she's working a lot with collage right now, but this is a work on paper. And yeah, there are these, I don't know. I just thought that she had expressed interest in the very first iteration, but she was too late. So I referred her for this one.
Yeah, I just love the detail of like the nipples changing color,
Yeah.
which I think is great. It's like a small thing, but it's really a big thing.
And they're kind of like she works with gamification, like there's a game quality involved in it as well.
It's interesting. It's always neat to see when something adds to the overall aesthetic. It's different. This is also really different than the last submission from Ching Ching Chang, which I think is really interesting and beautiful variety. It's like this decaying image, which is gorgeous. Let's see. it's amazing image as well, composition of the state.
Hey, Mariana, I
Yes.
came into the meeting a little late, so maybe
Sure.
you covered this, but for those people, because for instance, those last two images we looked at,
Mhm.
because of the sizes, because one is, so from what I understand, that means then we have to pick one to include in the
correct.
submission, right?
That's a
So
good.
are we going through everything first and then we're going to go back and do that now with the group, or what's the
Well,
plan?
we could do it right now, actually. I don't think we've crossed anybody that's gone over until this person, until Ching Ching Chang.
Okay,
And this is the first person who's gone over. So we basically have to pick one of these two. So we
of
can
these
say,
two.
if does anybody want to think about that for a little bit and we'll go back to it, or it might be helpful to see the whole show before we pick, but just
Yeah.
we have to go back to her just because if we have a lot of photography, we might want to mix it up, to the more sculptural piece. If we have a lot of work that looks like a torso and we want to mix it up, we might pick the more photo-based.
Right.
So,
Yeah, let's keep going through.
okay.
This one is not mine.
Yes, I don't know. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. This is yours though,
That
correct?
one is,
Carrie, would there be any way you could check to see who that is? Because I'm not sure. I don't want to. And this one is yours as well. So I don't know if you guys have ever done this, like tried to make a PowerPoint out of a spreadsheet, but it just takes.
it sounds like a nightmare.
Carrie was so good about it. I'm like, I hate it so much, but we did it. So I'm like, I don't have the graphic design brain. I'm not sure who the green one is, but we should. It looks very different than Leah's. I don't remember. And this is Leslie's amazing drawing. I love it. Lisa Oxley, Vessel. And this looks like it has textile as well, or it's as well as collage, other elements. Gouache and wallpaper, Lisa. And then mulattoes also are missing the size of the paper. So I need to reach out to mulatto, and we'll be sending out the big email that says, just go through. So it'll depend, like with her, if the overall area is large or small, to how many she can include. And we'll also be reiterating that when people drop off to me, like basically you have to make a choice here if you didn't make a choice yet,
Given the size of the clamps on the side of the paper, this looks fairly large.
I know, that's what my fear is too, that it looks large. And then we have 3 of them, so we have to ask her to select one if that's the case.
Yeah.
But they're also clearly in a series. They're similar. This piece I think is really beautiful. I like all 3 of them, but of course I make abstract paintings, so I'm more attracted to the abstract one, but I I think we all do that a little bit. There's Margie. Miracle Pose made me feel like a bride again. I love it. Free Afternoons. And then Mommy. So would that take us over? So maybe we could do one collage and then the marker piece. What do you guys think? We'll have to think about that because that would push her over as well. Margie, are you still here? I noticed you had to go. She may not be here anymore. Okay, we can ask her that as well. Marjan also doesn't have, these are all prints, so I believe that Marjan can print them at any size, but I'll have to clarify with her to make sure. Same thing. This is mine, which I just made one piece. And then Maya's, these are pieces that are still, this is a still from a performance event. And then this is a sort of pigment print on paper. So yeah, I think technically that would those both fit 19 by 13? It's pretty much, it's close. We might have to select one from Maya. And be thinking about that, whether we have a preference here or here.
I think the 2 would fit because 19 by 13, if you put the 2 together, that's still only 19 by 26.
Oh, you're right. It does fit, doesn't it? Yes, then we're good. Thanks for being better at math than I am. This is Melanie's. I don't remember what the notes this one is correct means, but It may have just been the imagery. We were kind of, it's easy to get a little lost on the spreadsheet, like where you are and what person you're on. So that may have been notes to us. So these are cutouts. They're not on white paper. It's a shaped work. So it should all fit. Again, Patricia Morides. This is an artist who's new to me.
She's a friend of mine
Awesome.
and she's just makes incredibly beautiful photography work.
Does look really beautiful. It's interesting, the sort of oculus shape. And then Raghavir is somebody who submitted 3 things, and so they're all the max size. And so we have option 1, option 2, or option 3. And so we can think about 1, 2, or 3 when it comes to her. This is Zini Lardieri, and I wasn't sure if Zini wanted to be Rosina but because of the email address is Zini, but these are beautiful kissing goddesses. And goddesses. There was a third one that was submitted, but it didn't have an image with it. So we just stuck with those 2 for the PowerPoint. This is Ruby Osorio, 11 by 15, 12 by 16. And so 11 by 15, we'd have to choose 2 of these 3. So, which I think they're all really beautiful. We'll have to get back to that and think about it. Snezhana, these also don't have dimensions, so it's going to be a little bit tough to pick. But we can communicate again, like the same thing.
And given that those are digital, they can also be printed at varying sizes, maybe. So,
yeah, I believe so. I believe that she'll adjust it to put all 3 in. That's my guess. I don't believe she's here, but this is Susan Arena. Woman, I love this one. And then Tawny Featherston. I'm not sure what the dimensions of this are as well. But we're less worried about like whether or not this looks completely accurate because we're not shopping it around. We're just trying to create an archive for whoever does the labels at the museum. It'll be a lot easier. We have a visual archive of what's being sent. It's also easier for packing. Victoria Delgadillo, watercolor painting. Zeal Harris. So it says photography, but these are, I believe they're digital glissé, or they're glissé prints of paintings. And then Kayla Tangi, there should be an E at the end of that. And hers, she submitted 3 that are going to, I believe, go over as well. But we have to choose 2 of these 3. And I think that's close enough that we'll be fine. And that's it. So a total, I believe we had, gosh, I'm not sure exactly, but it's like 40, something like that. Between 35 and 40 people. Which is some of the feedback I've gotten from people that I sent the previous slide deck to was that we included so much work that people were overwhelmed by looking at all of it. And I do think that this time, because there is less work, it does feel more focused, and which is actually a really good thing. And I feel like this is a really strong slide deck because of that, because it is more edited. Did we figure out who this is by any chance, Carrie?
Yes.
I know. It's Julia Boyd. She's a photographer.
Yeah, I changed it in the slide deck. I also put it in the meeting.
Okay, in the
too.
chat. Okay, who's
Yeah.
the name of the person? I just want to make sure to give them credit.
Julia Goyd.
Julia.
Right.
Okay, perfect. So I think this is the first person that we have to make a choice of one or the other from. So I don't know, 1 or 2, I guess. Does anybody have any strong opinions about 1 or 2?
I lean towards 1.
I do too.
Can you hear me?
Is
I
that,
also lean
does
towards
anybody
one.
agree with that?
Yes, I like one.
Okay, you like one? So we're just gonna stick with one? Okay,
Yeah.
so, and Carrie, you got that? Number one, okay. Let's see, and then let's go to. Who was the next person that went over? I think it was, yeah,
I actually
Yeah.
submitted 3. Did you guys already choose 2 out of 3 or?
so we're not, it's not necessarily 2 out of 3, it's, you know, it's basically the size area. So we're limited to 22 by 30 inches as
Mm,
the overall area. So if your
Per
work
person.
it fits exactly per person, thank you. So if your work fits within that area, you're fine. And you can include both, unless you would like to include less. That's up to you.
No, I was actually saying that I had submitted 3, but I didn't see it in the deck.
Was it larger than the size permitted? That may have been why. But if we didn't see it, it may have been let's see.
Were you earlier in the slide deck? Were you?
I was probably later. I submitted late. I can show you the other one. You wanna
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. It is this one here.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all
Yeah.
12 by 9.
Which
So that
means
one
you
was
can
good.
have all 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because your total square inches are still under the 22 by 30, so you're good.
Okay.
So we'll just add it in, Lisa, if you want to make sure that, you know, I mean, it's going to go in the box regardless. So,
So Lisa, there was actually an issue with the link of your image. So that's
Oh.
why it wasn't included. I was unable to click on that link. So if you want to send it,
Resend it. Okay.
yeah, you'll need to resend the image.
No
you can
problem.
also, if you just want to, for the sake of this, if you want to take a screenshot of that, just clip it out and then dump it in the chat. We can very quickly do that too.
All right.
Because Carrie can grab it from there, and that would be just save us some time because you got the labeling on it, so we can edit that out later. But that might be the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
Cancel. Okay, so we're gonna share again. And so for mulattoes, I'm gonna assume that that we will yes, I'm gonna continue. I don't know why it keeps saying that to me. Why is it on? Are you guys, I'm trying to figure out what screen you can see because it's stop share. Is it just showing you, for whatever reason, when I switch the share over, it doesn't like me anymore. Let me pull back up the slideshow. Give me a second. I thought I was being all slick, like, oh, I can do this fast. And clearly I cannot do this fast. I think I may have closed all my tabs real quick on accident. So let me log back in. I apologize.
I just wanted to say, Mary, just a heads up, I have to jump off at 1 o'clock.
Okay, that's fine. That's,
Okay.
you can always do that. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
I'm not offended, I promise.
Okay.
I wouldn't notice, to be honest with you. Let's see. Only because I've got so many things going on. I felt since school started and it's so hot, I kind of feel like the worst massive like ADHD brain of all time right now. It's just okay. Here we go. So we're back. I'm going to go back down to mulattoes. So I think that it's probably a good idea for mulattoes if we take a look at the 3 and maybe just if we have if they're big, what would be the picking order 1, 2, and 3? Like just think about it that way so that we know.
Yeah, if we can rank them and that way we can
Right.
figure out the sizes later.
Exactly. So 1, 2, and then 3. So it almost appears to me that this looks like a process photo of this one, but I guess they're slightly different. Anybody have any opinions about that or want to vote in the chat? I don't know.
I go 1, then 3, then 2.
1, 3, 2. Is that kind of what
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, mulatto 1, 3, and 2 in that order. Okay.
Yeah, depending on size, because honestly, the first one with the clamps, it almost looks like it might be bigger than 30 inches.
Yeah, I'm a
So,
little concerned about that too.
yeah.
Okay. For Margie, do we want to pick one of these two collages and then do the marker piece, or do we want to do the two collages to keep it the same? It's sort of up to you guys. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
like
I say
collages.
One and
the two
two.
collages.
I'm
Collages.
thinking 2 collages.
Me too.
Okay. All right, so. And then Marjan, we also don't have sizes for, but I think we can probably ask her to print it any size. So we have the option to say, we really like this one or these two. Would you print them at this size? You know, so we could select from these 3, however many we feel. 1, 2. I kind of feel like 1 is the one that really addresses the theme well. 1.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
And I think that it's probably the strongest. I'd rather she printed that large.
Yeah.
Could we ask her for that? Okay. Does
Mhm.
anybody disagree with me? No? Okay. And then I think
But
Maya's.
can I ask
Sure.
a question though? And we didn't specify this in the call, so I feel like a bit of a bitch to bring this up in all honesty. But some of these are essentially reproduction prints of things.
Mhm.
How do we feel about that?
I don't know. You guys can, I'm fine with that, but I think it
Okay.
depends on what the majority of people feel.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It depends on what paper it's printed on, you know?
True.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's
No, I'm a little iffy on it, but I don't feel strongly enough about it to make a big stink or
Right.
anything. And also because there's a number of people who are in that situation. And I kind of feel like if we were gonna say it's not okay, then we should have made that clearer. But
Yeah, definitely.
I kind of assumed original work, but I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we do that, then we wind up excluding photography a lot. And we do have a lot of performance artists and that are, and I don't want to exclude photography. I
But
feel like
no. But I mean, there's original photography and there's also documentary photography of performance, which
Mhm.
is also original work. And then there's reproduction prints of original flat work. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do.
So
I think also too, we need to consider the fact that it's actually probably safer for some people to ship work that's reproduction.
for sure. Oh, for sure.
I kind of understand why, Maya wouldn't want to send the original, like for this
Right.
particular piece, because it's fragile. And
Right.
all of her work is really, especially when it has these collage elements, is fragile.
Can I jump in really quickly? Sorry, this is Anka, and I'm like calling from Greece, and I'm like outside of the internet, so I have a lot of stuff going on. But I think this issue that Amy raised is really interesting now. And I mean, I've seen if I think about Coco Fusto, right? I mean, she's a performance artist, but at the Yerba Buena Center, I saw a Sunday exhibition of hers where she had documentary photography of her performance, but the line between this category of reproductions of original works and documentary photography is kind of blurring to these points. And it's a huge question, theoretically, where the line is. Like, how do you put the one into this category and the one in the other? And I would claim that's a moving target. And I think actually the attraction of our is to blur those boundaries even further, even if it were provocative.
Okay.
So even though I totally get where Amy is coming from, because, if we have like the classical training, right, you're supposed to question this stuff, right? And I agree, it is a problematic but in a way, that's exactly what makes our exhibition interesting. We want to provoke that question and ask viewers, what do you think? Right? And I don't know, that's kind of my feeling, although I really want to take the time to say, I do think that Amy's question is 100% on point. And I totally get what she's coming from.
I think my attitude about it is a lot like, I mean, I remember reading in Audre Lorde's essay about why some forms of art are considered fine and some forms are not. And a lot of it has to do with money and time.
Oh,
And so
absolutely.
poetry is not held up in the same way that novel writing is because it's a poor person's form. And an oppressed person's form. And I feel like that a lot with reproduction prints too. Like I feel like there's a way that people who maybe don't have the time and the means to have big studio space and perhaps work on that scale. And it allows them to make work and then participate more often. And I know that I understand that there's like there's a taste thing happening too there, but I also think a lot of it has to do with we do have the younger generation of artists that I'm interacting with. They do have a more populist attitude about materials, and they do have less of an art school atelier sort of what do you say, like less of the things that we were taught, right, in school, right, that there are these hierarchy of forms. And so they do tend to use and mix up a lot more materials that we would have maybe been trained in school to think of as being not valuable. And I'm doing that and thinking about that. So I do think it's interesting, and I do think it allows younger artists to participate that maybe don't have the studio practices that women that are, have institutional jobs that are middle-aged have, versus if you're a younger artist or you're, somebody who's holding it down. And I like that about the group, but I do know what you're saying. And I do know that some people are overwhelmed by that sometimes, like that there are these like, glisse prints, for example.
Well, that is less of an issue to me. I mean, I come at it a bit from from a different standpoint, which is that, and this is very personal to me, which is because my work tends to be very heavily textured, even works on paper. And I don't want people to confuse a photograph of the thing with the thing, because the thing has qualities that the photo doesn't, or that a reproduction print wouldn't. Not that the reproduction print might not be valuable as another art form. And I don't mean in money terms, I mean in artistic terms, but it's more a question of, I also don't want people, if someone is sending a digital photo of the collage, I think it's also important to understand that there may still exist or not an original, a collage, and those two are not the same.
We should label it appropriately. Why don't we just label it appropriately?
Yeah, I think as long as it's labeled right, I'm okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, Amy, especially for that piece that started this conversation. It is a work on paper already, and it's being photographed and then submitted as a print of a work, or not even a print, it's a digital output of the original work on paper. To me, it just doesn't have the same value as, I mean, there are plenty of people in this show who are submitting the original work on paper and within the size constraints. So I don't know. Photography, I don't even
about that.
It doesn't have to do with that. It just is the reproduction of an actual work on paper that I find problematic.
I'm just going to jump in and say, just coming at it from, I realized looking at like the pieces that I submitted, and they are photographs of performance, but I think of the photographs as like a piece. And I think what you were just saying, Carrie, like that's very different than someone going in and digitally manipulating or making like a digital print of something. Like that's very different than a reproduction of a drawing or a piece that exists somewhere.
For sure.
Okay. So,
I mean, and I know on a pragmatic note, I make enormous sculptures. The only way I can show them most places, first off, they're built into wheelchairs and walkers frequently. I can't get them into most spaces. So the way that I can do that is to get good photos taken of them and to do prints.
Got it.
So sometimes it's like, there's no way most of my pieces would fit into this category, just size alone.
Mhm.
Medusa's a good 5.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
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 But I think where your issue is you like this photo, but this piece, because it's being presented as a print instead of an actual thing, you feel doesn't belong. Is that correct? Is that what I'm getting? 'Cause this was the image. Is this correct?
That's not what I mean. I love this image. I would hate for us to lose this image.
Yeah, I
It
would not.
was
I
no,
don't want.
yeah, no, I love this piece. And I think, you know, if it's its description as a pigment print on paper, I think is clear. I mean, I would love to have the original, but I totally understand if that's not possible. It was more a question because this is not the only, this is not the only piece that this issue kind of came up with. This is sort of the, I mean, if my memory serves, the fourth, fifth, sixth, I don't know, one. But this is why I say we did not specify in the call. I kind of feel like we can't, I would feel weird at the 11th hour, kind of after the fact, saying, sort of making a new rule and saying, oh, well, but you can't do this.
Yeah, I
You know what I mean?
wouldn't do that. Definitely.
Yeah, like that is, I think is kind of not okay in terms of process.
Right.
It was more of, because this kept popping up, that I was like, oh, is this something that we should talk about? Because it seems to keep coming up.
Okay,
And
well, if
not
we-
necessarily for this show, but for future reference.
Sure.
That's, you know.
Well, the only other place I see it happening is maybe in Marjan's, but I think we just selected one, this one.
Yeah, that
and
one was another one, right? That's
So,
it's
but
but it's
Yeah,
labeled
I agree
as
with
a
that one.
print of drawing mixed media. So I think that makes it clear what it is. It's not representing itself as something other than what it is. So
This is the one that I actually was talking about that I
this is the one that
think
bugs
is
you,
more
Carrie?
problematic. Yeah, because it's a drawing and it's just a print of or a photograph of the drawing. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can have a conversation with her and see what it is. But I would like to include Marjan, at least one of the three pieces that she submitted. She does use digital, and then she goes back and forth between digital and drawing a lot. But Marjan is primarily known in Los Angeles as a performance artist, and she's participating in the performance part of the show. And she's also done just a lot of work with us and performs as a goddess a lot too in Los Angeles. If you've ever met her, you would remember. She's got personality. You know, and but I can have that conversation with her about, you know, we would prefer the original if it's possible. And if it's not, you know, then maybe just printing that first piece on nice paper so that it looks good and at a size. So it's not shiny. Cause I think if it's not shiny, it would look better. And I hear what you're saying. Okay. So these we're good with. Melanie Brewster's. These are beautiful. Really interesting. This, we just need to know what size. For ROG, we have a decision 1, 2, or 3, because we can only take one of these. So I don't know how you guys feel.
I would pick 1, then 3, then 2.
1 and 3.
Yeah. But the 1 is my number 1 as well. Does anybody?
1 is my number 1 also.
Yeah.
So
seems like 1 gets the most votes.
1 gets the most. Okay. So
1 gets the most.
And then for Zini, for Rosina, we have 2. And I don't know about the third one, but if it stays within the size restrictions, I think these are really interesting. Zini's work is very conceptually based. And so the idea of the photo scroll, I think, is a really interesting way to think about the format itself, and to think about how they could be displayed is really interesting as well. So the other place we have a choice is Ruby Osorio, 1, 2, 3. And we could do I mean, I kind of feel like Ruby is the one person who I would love to include all 3 works in, just because Ruby is an artist of note, and you know, her work it's incredibly generous that she keeps giving us work to show. And I think that, you know, however, I do understand that we're diplomatic and we're trying to be fair and equitable in all things. But I think we all also know that having an anchor artist in a show brings more people to the show. So it's good to have an artist who's of the stature that Ruby is, want to be included in our show. And the fact that she sent 3 is kind of amazing because they're valuable paintings. And you know, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but we could easily pick 2, or we can decide to make a decision that we would like to include all 3 if that's what everybody feels. That would be my preference.
Couldn't they be displayed like, stacked or something so it wouldn't
Yeah.
go over the space actually?
I think we're going to be fine. We do have some wiggle room, and we didn't get, the last slide deck was, we had like 98 images. So we have a little bit of wiggle room. Like 1 extra piece is not going to harm anything, or a few inches over in this particular case. I just have a hard time picking between the 3.
Yeah, I would too. I'd have a hard time pulling one out.
Because they
the
do
last 2
good.
work together as a pair really well, but that first one is so beautiful.
Right, I know.
If I had to pick 2, I'd pick 1 and 3, and I'd lose number 2.
Mm.
Me too.
Okay. So is anybody okay with letting her include 3, or should we pick 1 and 3?
I'm okay. I was saying if we have to pick 2, but I'm
Yeah.
fine with 3 pieces.
Yeah.
I think it could be
I think 3 is great, but I would also pick, if we only have to pick 2, I'd pick 1 and 3, but they're beautiful.
I agree. Okay. So if nobody has a strong opinion against allowing her to have 3, that's my preference. Is that okay with everybody?
I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Okay. So this is for Snezhana. We just need to make sure that she prints it at a size so that she can include all 3 or makes that decision herself. So there's going to be an email that comes around that says basically that.
Mhm.
By 11, Susan.
Yeah,
I think we're good with Susan.
we're good with yeah.
Tawny's, we just needed the size. And then Seals fits within the sizes as well.
Mhm.
And then Kayla is the only other person we have to make a decision on. 1, 2, 3. And so because
I love number 1 so much.
Yeah,
I
one
love
one
that.
gets my vote.
Mhm.
I would
And-
say 1 and 3.
1 and 3. See, I prefer 2.
Sorry, 1 and 2.
I prefer
1 and
2. Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
meant 2. 1 and 2.
I would go
Yeah.
1, then 2, then 3.
Okay.
Same.
Yeah, 1 and then 2 and then 3 is a third. And Kayla has not been able to participate as much because she has been going through surgery for breast cancer and endometriosis at the same time. And so one of the things that she's done
Yikes.
has been really amazing, and it should say tangy, there should be an E at the end, is that, she documented all of it with photography during the, post-op, and, has made incredible work out of the experience, and talk to us about it, and apologize for not being able to participate as much because she's been so ill. But I'm really admire her tenacity, to, show her body in this transformational state, and really own it. So I think, there's a really beautiful, sick woman aesthetic. I've read an essay about that, like the idea of that. And, she also has, she just makes really interesting conceptually based performance work as well. So I think she's a wonderful artist. I'm really glad she decided to send us work. So that if we do the top 2, that would bring us to 64 images, and we're going to be taking out a few. The other thing that we need to let you know is that we basically are going to be we're going to send out the email to start collecting works in person. I'm going to set up an hour, like a routine every week, so that you can drop off basically on certain days in September and the beginning of October, so that we can get everything boxed up and sent to SUNY Potsdam Art Museum on time. And then so we're going to have a couple of deadlines coming up for drop off. And then if there's a situation too, where if the work is too big, or we'll say, okay, you can only leave this much work. But we'll have Allison and I, we're going to have linen tabs there. Allison volunteered some linen tape, which is awesome. And so we'll be there to kind of accept and help people do the backing too, if you're concerned about that. And it's going to be truly like a homemade family kind of thing. So stop by, have some, cookies and drop off your work. But it'll be kind of like office hours. Like I'll just be keeping it routine in my calendar so that you'll see it's probably going to be on Sundays, because that's usually the day that's the least booked for everybody. And it'll be afternoons on Sundays. So I'll let you know when that's coming up. We will send you a link to this slideshow as well. It's in the chat, so you can make edits. Did you have a question, Carrie, before I hand it over to Allison to take over?
Yeah, really quickly, if you have a way of hanging it that doesn't require linen tapes, is that fine?
Well, we had said for everybody to linen tab just to make it easy, but if I think it even said in the call, if your work is made of, a really delicate paper where that is not appropriate, don't worry about it. And, if you're doing it on rice paper, you're not going to linen tab the back of a delicate rice paper or something. So is it your own work, Carrie, that you're asking about?
Yep, my own work. I'll do a built-in hanging system on it.
Okay. Well, just, we suggested linen tabs because that way we could magnet or pin directly from the linen tabs and not be touching the paper itself. And as this is intended to be a traveling show, we figured something that's, a little old school but standard that everybody knows how to work with was probably the most functional for multiple shows hung by multiple different people. The only other thing I would say while I've got the floor, if anybody is more East Coast based and wants to ship directly to me, I know Mariana in the call, and Mariana and I have talked about this in the call, it says things have to get to me by the 23rd, but actually things are going to be getting to me by November 15th or earlier. So if you want to ship to me directly, just email me and let me know, and make sure it gets here by November 15th at the latest, not November 23rd. Unless I'm stepping on your toes with that, Mariana?
Sorry, I just was checking something behind the screen. I apologize. So I think if people want to, you're just asking if people can send it directly to you. Yes, that's fine. If they're sending to me, I will be sending out an email with the deadlines for when I'm accepting.
Yeah. Just because I know there was somebody, I'm sorry, I forget who is Boston based from an earlier meeting. And I was like, okay, if someone's in Boston, it's crazy to ship their work to LA when it's coming back to Potsdam.
They should send it to you directly.
Exactly. So then they can send it to me
I'll
directly.
send directly to you,
Okay.
Amy, and then also maybe Patricia Morides and Eva Zasloff. Maybe I'll gather their work and send it all to you or something.
Oh, perfect.
We'll work out something like that.
Okay.
My only question was that maybe then we would get 3 blank backer boards in the original box for when it goes to the next show.
Well, I'm going to, once Mariana has bought whatever supplies she's buying for the box, she's going to tell me what she bought. I'm going to get exactly the same stuff so that I can add in for the stuff that is shipped directly to me. So we will all be kind of on the same standard. You know what I mean?
Great.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let me stop share. Allison, did you want to share? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, and I'm putting it in the chat. And okay, so very, very simple. On our website, we have, a running list of all of our members and everybody who's participated. And then their name is a link to their website, and we have not updated it in a while. So if you are not on the website and you want to be on the website and you want a link to your website to be there, just type in your name as you would like it to appear on the website, and then give me the link, and then I'm going to go in and update the website and add everybody. And that's about it. Easy peasy. Did anybody have any questions about that? Okay, I'll just go ahead and stop sharing. Okay.
Oh my gosh, are we actually done within an hour? That's crazy. That like never.
We got a lot done.
Yeah, I know. I was so worried yesterday that we weren't going to get through that slideshow, Carrie, because it was just like the spreadsheets are a little intimidating. But yeah, I mean, I do think this show looks more cohesive than the previous slide deck. And I think it's just because of fewer pieces. And it makes it easier to kind of concentrate on the work that's being presented when it's not such a glut of information. The only thing I wanted to add to this is, and we talked about it quickly in the committee, was would it be okay if I sent a, basically when I send out to curators the larger slide deck for the other show, which was the show we're trying to find a physical location for in Los Angeles, if I created like a shorter greatest hits of like 15 pieces that are standout pieces to send to people, so that we then send them the large, after they agree, we send them the large image of bank in that particular situation. But like, for example, like I had a correspondence with the director of there's a like a really large space at LMU. And she was like, this show is like twice as much work as the space I have. And I explained, oh, well, we had anticipated that the person who is the director of the show would curate out of the slide deck and select the works that fit within their space. Not that you would have to put in 130 objects or whatever, like, that we, I wanted to just sort of get everybody's opinion about that. Do you think it's okay to do that? I'm going to be sending out like, a revised email that says that, and then a smaller slide deck that also is just a greatest hits thing. So if you don't see your work in that smaller slide deck, don't panic. It doesn't mean that you won't be in that show. It just means that if we're contacting curators here, the curator who has the space would have the ultimate say about what was included so that they could meet the parameters of their space. Because frankly, just the number of people that we have, it would be impossible for most spaces to accommodate us unless it was like an entire floor of LACMA or something. Like it's a huge, I know it sounds silly, but it's sort of not when you look at the amount of work. And I realized that I was glad she said something, because it didn't occur to me that somebody might panic opening it up and seeing that much work. Because we haven't gotten a lot of emails back that when I have sent people the slide deck.
I think that's a great idea because it's just overwhelming, and I think you have to do like the first swipe for somebody just so they can even see what's going on and they don't freak out.
Yeah. No, I'd say go for it. I think that would be a really helpful, very helpful thing to do.
Okay. As always, I want to include everybody all the time because that's just my personality. And I say yes all the time. So I appreciate the amount of work that we got and that people are really engaged and excited about the topic. And I do want to include as many people as possible. It's just not always possible. And so, in case there are ever any hurt feelings about that, please, you can communicate with me if you are feeling that in some way. And I'm here to figure it out or help you figure it out. If we can, we like to be as inclusive as possible. And that's it.
Before everybody goes, quick thing, just because while we're talking venues, because I don't know if this has been said in a big meeting, after the SUNY Potsdam show, the Works on Paper show is going to be traveling to University of Wisconsin-Kenosha, where Carrie Waters is. So we're looking for additional venues after that. We have a few feelers out, but if anybody has other venues for the Works on Paper show also, if you want to shoot me or Carrie or Anka or Mariana, or, like shoot us all an email or something, because we'd like for this show to be able to travel, for a year or two, or, as long as possible, and get it seen in as many places as possible. So and obviously, the curators at any of those places, like with the LA show, can curate out of the box. my plan for the SUNY Potsdam show is to make sure that everybody who's in the box gets in that show, so that even if they're curated out of other venues, everybody's in that show for sure. At least one piece, regardless of, you know, how many you have in the box. But we'd like to, you know, we'd like to travel this show on. So if you have either personal connections or friends of connections that you think this might be a good fit for, email one of us and let us know, so we can, you know, continue on after that, because we'd like to keep pushing this show out there.
And just so you know, and I forgot to say this, thank you for saying something, Amy. Annie Wharton did contact me as soon as we're done with this slide deck. I'm supposed to send it to her because she has a venue in Louisville, Kentucky that would be interested in it after us. And it's a art space in Louisville that she's been working with as a consultant. So I mean, and she's staged several shows there for artists on her roster. So she's very and again, this is just a phone conversation because she called me.
Sure.
So I'll be sending you information about that as well as soon as I find out. Okay.
Awesome.
Great to see everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good week.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.